Have you ever noticed how some people move through life untouched by manipulation? It's as though they wear an invisible armor, not forged from ego or bravado, but from silent, unwavering inner strength. These men don't follow the rhythm of the world, they walk to their own pulse, carving order out of chaos with quiet precision. Enter the Sigma male, the anomaly of the social hierarchy. Unlike the Alpha, whose dominance demands attention, the Sigma moves in silence, thriving beyond society's invisible leash. His independence isn't rebellion, it's intention. A conscious devotion to self-mastery and clarity. Psychological research shows that individuals with deep self-awareness are nearly immune to manipulation. Sigma males don't just understand this, they are this. It's not a learned defense, it's a natural state of being. When manipulation appears, the Sigma doesn't flinch. He doesn't react with rage or fear. Instead, he observes, dissects, and neutralizes it, calmly, methodically, like a surgeon removing a toxin. He plays no hero, no victim. He is the silent observer, enforcing unseen rules without uttering a word. This unnerves manipulators more than confrontation ever could. Because for the Sigma, it's never about proving himself or seeking victory, it's about protecting his peace, his values, and his sovereignty. Manipulators eventually drift away, confused by a man they cannot bend, a mind they cannot infect. That's the paradox of the Sigma male. He doesn't win the game, because he refuses to play it. So, let's unravel how Sigma males navigate manipulation, a deep dive into their philosophy of independence, emotional control, and unshakable resilience. Reason 1, they see through emotions. Sigma males possess an almost surgical awareness when it comes to reading emotions, both their own and others. This isn't born from coldness or detachment, but from emotional mastery. They've spent years understanding their inner world, their triggers, their responses, their boundaries. So when someone tries to manipulate them through emotional games, they sense it immediately, like a shift in energy that others would overlook. A manipulator often thrives on emotional chaos, guilt, sympathy, or validation. They know most people can be controlled if the right emotional button is pressed. But with Sigma males, those buttons simply don't work. Why? Because Sigmas have already dismantled them. They've learned that emotions are powerful, but they're not meant to rule them. So, when someone guilt trips them with lines like, "I thought you cared about me," or pretends to be helpless just to gain control, the Sigma doesn't react. He doesn't take the bait. Instead, he pauses, studies the situation with calm detachment, and analyzes the motive behind the emotion. This ability comes from deep introspection. Sigma males constantly review their past interactions, spotting behavioral patterns others miss. If someone repeatedly uses the same emotional tactics, excessive flattery, false vulnerability, or subtle blame shifting, the Sigma mentally notes it and quietly distances himself. He doesn't create drama or confront the manipulator in public scenes. He doesn't need to. His strength lies in silence, in emotional withdrawal. By cutting off the manipulator's emotional supply, he renders their tactics useless. Without reaction, manipulation starves and dies. Philosophically, this behavior echoes the core of Stoicism, the belief that the only true power one holds is over one's own mind. A Sigma male understands that external events and other people's emotions are beyond his control, but his response is entirely his domain. And that's what makes him so untouchable. He doesn't fight manipulation, he outgrows it. He dismantles it not through argument, but through awareness, restraint, and stillness. For the Sigma, emotions are tools, not weapons. And that's precisely why manipulators can never win against him, because he's mastered the very battlefield they depend on, the emotional realm. Reason 2, they establish unshakable boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are gates of self-respect. And Sigma males guard those gates with calm precision. While most people struggle to say no out of fear of rejection or conflict, Sigma males see boundaries as sacred. They understand that without them, peace becomes impossible and self-worth begins to erode. Unlike alpha males, who often assert boundaries through dominance, confrontation, or loud assertion, the Sigma's way is different, quieter, but far more powerful. He doesn't shout his limits, he embodies them. His calm demeanor, unshakable composure, and unbothered attitude send a message stronger than words ever could: you can't cross this line. When someone attempts manipulation, through charm, guilt, or emotional pressure, the Sigma male doesn't flinch or over-explain himself. He doesn't feel the need to justify his choices, because his values are already clear to him. He communicates his boundaries not through argument, but through behavior. If someone tries to seduce him with flattery, he won't respond with excitement or validation. If a person uses emotional blackmail, he won't bend to keep the peace. Instead, he withdraws his energy, slowly, quietly, but decisively. His indifference confuses manipulators. They can't figure out why their tactics don't work, why their emotional hooks fail to get a reaction. That's because the Sigma's boundaries are built on emotional detachment, a mental discipline that separates feelings from decisions. This doesn't make him cold or cruel. In fact, it makes him one of the most balanced men you can encounter. He can be kind, empathetic, even gentle, but his kindness is never a weakness. It's intentional. He gives compassion to those who deserve it, but he never sacrifices his peace for someone else's comfort. Psychologically, this comes from what's known as detached awareness, the ability to observe situations objectively, without being ruled by emotion or impulse. This mindset allows the Sigma male to stay calm when others would crumble under pressure. He knows that people who don't respect boundaries are revealing something about themselves, not about him. Over time, these unspoken standards act as a filter. Manipulative or toxic people naturally drift away because they find no control or leverage over him. Only genuine, self-respecting individuals remain, those who recognize and mirror his energy. To the Sigma male, boundaries are not about pushing others away, they are about protecting the integrity of his inner world. He's not trying to avoid conflict, he's curating a life filled with mutual respect, authenticity, and peace. Because at the end of the day, a Sigma knows this truth. The man who respects his boundaries never loses himself to anyone. And that, more than anything, is the essence of true power. Reason 3, they leverage silence as a weapon. In a society that glorifies loud opinions, quick reactions, and endless explanations, the Sigma male moves differently, he moves in silence. His silence isn't emptiness, it's strategy. While others rush to speak, defend, or justify themselves, the Sigma understands that silence is often the most devastating form of communication. When faced with manipulation, whether it's subtle guilt-tripping, gaslighting, or emotional provocation, he doesn't take the bait. He doesn't feed the manipulator's hunger for reaction. Instead, he becomes still, unreadable. That stillness unnerves people. Manipulators depend on chaos, on emotional feedback to validate their control. But when they're met with calm silence, they lose their power. It's as if the Sigma holds up a mirror, forcing them to confront the hollowness of their own tactics. And make no mistake, this isn't passive silence born from confusion or fear. It's active silence, a conscious decision rooted in awareness. The Sigma's quiet presence says everything words cannot. I see through your performance, but you're not worth my energy. This silence becomes a shield. It disarms manipulators, diffuses conflict, and reclaims emotional control. Most people feel uncomfortable with silence, they rush to fill it with justifications, lies, or flattery. But the Sigma male thrives in it. He uses it as a psychological pause, a moment to observe, assess, and calculate his next move. In those moments of stillness, he reads everything: tone, body language, micro-expressions, patterns of speech. Where others get lost in emotional confusion, he gathers data. He learns. And when he finally chooses to speak, every word carries the weight of intention. Philosophically, this mirrors the Zen principle of Wu Wei, the art of effortless action. It teaches that sometimes, the greatest form of power is to not force the outcome. By doing less, the Sigma achieves more. By remaining silent, he allows manipulative people to reveal their true nature, and often, they destroy themselves without him ever lifting a finger. This silence also reflects an advanced form of emotional intelligence. The Sigma knows that words can escalate conflict, but silence, when used wisely, exposes truth. He's mastered the art of using calm detachment as both armor and weapon. To outsiders, his silence can feel cold or intimidating. But to those who understand him, it's a mark of discipline, a refusal to waste energy on chaos that doesn't deserve his attention. When manipulators finally realize their emotional hooks can't penetrate his calm exterior, they crumble. They mistake his quiet for weakness, only to discover it's the strongest stance a man can take. Because for the Sigma male, silence isn't avoidance. It's dominance through restraint, power without aggression. It says, louder than any argument ever could: your games end where my peace begins. Reason 4, they rely on logic, not emotion. Manipulators operate in the realm of feelings: fear, guilt, affection, flattery, and even pity. They understand that most people are driven not by reason, but by the need to feel accepted, needed, or loved. But Sigma males are wired differently. They navigate the world through clarity, not chaos. While others are swept away by emotional waves, the Sigma male remains grounded, guided by logic, intuition, and reasoned observation. When someone tries to stir up emotional urgency, "You'll regret this if you don't act now," or "I thought you cared about me," the Sigma doesn't flinch. He pauses. He analyzes. He runs every word through the filter of truth and logic. Is this situation real, or is it engineered to provoke a reaction? Is this connection genuine, or am I being emotionally baited? By asking such questions, he dissolves the fog that manipulators depend on. What they expect is compliance, an impulsive yes. What they receive is silence, detachment, and a rational mind dissecting their every move. This mental discipline comes from the Sigma's self-mastery. He's spent years observing his own emotions, understanding them, controlling them, and, when needed, detaching from them. He knows that emotions are not the enemy, but they must never be the master. To the Sigma male, logic isn't cold, it's clarity. It's the ability to see through manipulation by separating feeling from fact. He can acknowledge emotional pain without letting it dictate his response. He can recognize flattery without letting it cloud his judgment. He can sense urgency without losing composure. Philosophically, this reflects the Stoic principle of rational detachment, the belief that inner peace comes from responding with reason, not reaction. The Sigma male practices this naturally. When chaos arises, he slows down. When others panic, he thinks. This calm rationality also ties into his mindset of abundance. Most people are easy to manipulate because they operate from scarcity, the fear of losing a person, an opportunity, or approval. But Sigma males don't chase validation or cling to relationships out of fear. They know that if something is meant to align with their path, it will. And if it doesn't, they'll create something better. This mindset makes them nearly impossible to control. You can't manipulate a man who isn't afraid to walk away. You can't pressure someone who doesn't need your approval. And you can't guilt-trip someone who has made peace with solitude. For manipulators, this logical self-reliance is deeply frustrating. Their emotional weapons, guilt, seduction, flattery, and fear, lose their sharpness in the face of calm rationality. They find themselves arguing alone, performing for an audience that doesn't react. Meanwhile, the Sigma male remains unbothered, grounded in truth, guided by logic, and fully in control of his own inner world. His strength doesn't lie in suppressing emotion, but in mastering it. He understands that emotions are powerful, but only when balanced by wisdom. And that is what makes him nearly untouchable. A man who feels deeply, yet decides logically. Because at the end of the day, the Sigma male knows one timeless truth. Manipulators control the emotional. But logic, quiet, steady, and precise, always wins the long game. Reason 5, they walk away without regret. There is one trait that truly separates Sigma males from the rest, their ability to walk away without hesitation, without drama, and without regret. This isn't arrogance. It isn't coldness. It's clarity. The Sigma male's greatest strength lies in his understanding that not every battle deserves his energy, and not every connection deserves his loyalty. When a manipulative person tries to tighten their grip, using guilt, fear, or emotional theatrics to keep him tethered, he doesn't fight back. He simply steps back. And that quiet step away often shakes manipulators to their core. They expect conflict, begging, or justification, but instead, they get silence and distance. That's because the Sigma doesn't stay where he's not respected. He doesn't argue for his worth. He simply removes his presence, and in doing so, he reclaims all his power. To outsiders, his detachment can look ruthless. But beneath that calm exterior is not bitterness, it's deep self-respect. He's learned through experience that holding on to toxic people or draining environments only leads to self-betrayal. And to a Sigma, betraying himself is far worse than losing anyone else. He understands something most people never do. Walking away is not a sign of weakness, it's the highest form of wisdom in motion. It's proof that he values inner peace over external approval. It's the realization that peace of mind is more valuable than winning an argument or saving a broken connection. Manipulators can't comprehend this level of detachment because they thrive on emotional dependency. They expect people to beg, to plead, to explain, but the Sigma gives them nothing. No closure, no validation, no emotional reaction. Just silence and the echo of his absence. And that absence is deafening. Because when a Sigma leaves, he doesn't look back. He doesn't replay the past or wonder what if. He knows that everything and everyone has a time and purpose, and once that purpose fades, it's time to move forward. This mindset is rooted in philosophical stoicism and self-mastery. A Sigma male understands that control doesn't come from holding on tighter, it comes from knowing when to let go. To him, detachment isn't avoidance, it's evolution. It's the ability to choose peace over pain, logic over emotion, and purpose over attachment. He lives by an inner law: if it costs his peace, it's too expensive. And once he makes that decision, there's no turning back. No revenge, no resentment, just quiet closure and forward motion. When a Sigma walks away, it's not an escape, it's a declaration. A statement that says, "I will never allow your chaos to become my cage." And that, right there, is the ultimate power move, one that leaves manipulators disarmed, exposed, and powerless. Because you cannot control a man who doesn't fear losing you. You cannot manipulate someone whose happiness is self-generated. The Sigma male doesn't just walk away from manipulation. He transcends it. He leaves with his dignity intact, his energy preserved, and his peace unshaken. That's not weakness. That's mastery. That's the quiet strength of a Sigma, a man who knows that freedom begins the moment he stops needing anything from anyone. Final reflection. To walk the path of the Sigma male is to walk a road few understand, a road paved not with noise, validation, or applause, but with clarity, solitude, and purpose. It is not a path for the faint of heart. It demands brutal honesty, emotional discipline, and the courage to face life without needing the world's approval. For the Sigma, existence is not about avoiding manipulation, it's about transcending it entirely. He doesn't waste time dodging the traps people set for him, because his awareness renders those traps meaningless. He operates on a higher frequency, one where manipulation, deceit, and social games lose their grip. His defiance is quiet, but it's powerful. He doesn't rebel for attention, and he doesn't resist to prove anything. He simply lives by his own code, one forged in silence, tested by solitude, and refined through reflection. That's what makes his presence so unsettling to those who live off control. You can't manipulate a man who's already free from the need to belong. His strength isn't in his dominance, it's in his self-mastery. He understands that conquering others brings temporary satisfaction, but conquering one's own impulses brings lasting peace. While the world chases power through possession, the Sigma finds it in detachment. While others seek validation through chaos, he finds fulfillment in stillness. His life is proof that peace is the ultimate form of power. Not the peace that comes from retreating, but the peace that comes from understanding, from seeing through the noise and standing firm in one's truth. That's the kind of calm that makes manipulators anxious and the insecure uneasy, because they cannot comprehend a man who no longer needs anything from them. To meet a Sigma male is to encounter a paradox, a man both connected and detached, grounded yet unpredictable. His calm presence commands respect without demand, his silence speaks louder than most people's noise, and his indifference to approval makes him magnetic. He thrives where others stumble, not because life is easier for him, but because he has mastered the art of not letting it control him. So when you cross paths with a Sigma, don't mistake his stillness for weakness. Understand that it's the stillness of a storm, contained, deliberate, and powerful beyond measure. He's not merely surviving, he's thriving, untethered, unbothered, and unapologetically free. And that's the lesson hidden in his silence. Freedom doesn't come from escaping the world, it comes from no longer needing to fit into it. If this exploration resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own path. How have you handled manipulation? How have you protected your peace? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. Your story might just inspire another Sigma to embrace his truth. If you found value in this journey, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to join a community that celebrates depth, awareness, and individuality. Together, we'll continue to uncover the untold psychology behind those who walk alone, not because they must, but because they choose to. Thank you for watching, and remember, the world may never understand the Sigma male. But that's exactly why he doesn't need it to.